Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today we have Roja with us today, and she'll be talking on the topic of femininity. Roja is the founder of Sacred Sisterhood. She's an embodiment coach, Islamic spiritual healing practitioner, an Ayurvedic practitioner, and a yoga instructor. Welcome, Roja. Salam.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're so happy to have you. So, first of all, I'd like to know more, what is Sacred Sisterhood about?
Mm. Well, Sacred Sisterhood, it was born as back in COVID as a community to gather women to teach. I would not say teach them at this point. I help them to remember about their fitrah and femininity. So where we combine different practices, like meditation with the Islamic lenses, right? Like somatic approach, like the connection with the body, and really how we can like how we can embody this in a way that is in alignment with our deen. And because for me what happened, it was like before I became Muslim, it was something that I was already exploring in myself. And when I came to Islam, I wanted to do the same. It's like, okay, now I'm gonna find some Muslim like woman that is gonna, like bring this into the lenses of Islam. And I couldn't find any. So that's how like basically start, like, and I took my background in um meditation, breathing, like yoga. And I approach more like, even now, like yoga more like from like the conscious of the body awareness. So I think like it's really a community where we just like come to just learn about ourselves. And the most important thing, as I always mention, like as we learn to know, when we know more about us, is really with the intention as Muslim to come close to Allah, right? Like this process of getting to know ourselves so we can, like we can call upon Allah to help us in that process of transformation.
So, then would you say that which you've just stated, that is the essence of your mission?
Yes, it is connected. And I'm just gonna give you a little bit of background of why I got into this, right? I studied business. I was at some point it was in a career in corporate world, and I was actually doing really well. And subhanallah, I started praying to Allah, like just give me, like bring me to my true purpose. And my life like just like completely change it like in a minute, right? And then I started this journey, and then in that journey also like that's where I went to India. I Before I found Islam, I was kind of like exploring many different traditions, right? I went to Buddhism, I went to shamanism, I went to um Hinduism, you name it, right? So I was always searching. I grew up in a Catholic family, but I always believed that it was one God. Even when I was in kind of like practicing Hinduism, like having all these different gods and whatever, I was like, oh, okay, right. Like I didn't kind of like stay in that place. I was like, I just prayed to God, right? Like for me, it was just one, like this. I think this concept of Tawhid was always there, right? Um, in that process, that's where I found my former husband. Actually, I was married before, and he brought me to the States. So that was before I was Muslim. And I think during my relationship, and subhanallah, you think, or I thought, like, oh, we have the same interests, and, like we are in this spiritual path and we are trying to know ourselves better and blah, blah, blah. Um, I think it was very much like the beginning, really, of my journey of self discovering. And also after my divorce, that's where I really, it made me think about there is something here that is like that I need to undo. What it is that, like, because I 100% believe in, and this is remind me of the eye of the Quran, what it says, like Allah would not change the situation of the people until you change what is within you, right? So there were like certain patterns, right, that I saw in my marriage at that point. And and I was like, what's going on? I just need to go deeper, right? So like that's where I actually started like going and really trying to step into my femininity. Even when we were in the relationship, we were trying to figure this out at the end. And again, there were like many different layers, and there were things that they were attached to my values that I just couldn't like kind of like I think it was like something that I couldn't stay with, right? And but subhanallah, he brought me to the States, and I think it was the opening for me. Like it was like to just really start understanding what it means to be a woman, what it means to be in your feminine, because something that not be, some people don't talk about is like the feminine, it has the two sides, right? Like the healthy balance and the imbalance, right? And like how, like even sometimes, like mom had like a lot of beautiful qualities in her feminine, right? But also like I saw a lot of this growing up in the people around me in my culture about like this wound of the feminine, right? And how I was bringing that into my relationship and trauma, uh, and all of these things were like really kind of like blockages to really helping me to step into my femininity, right? Like into this like really being happy and grateful for being a woman, like to really embrace that aspect. um so I will say that was the beginning of my journey. And then that's where I was like really focusing after my, like after my divorce, to really just like, okay, I wanted to know about myself, like really what it means to switch from this hyper independence woman to just really be allowing maybe someone to come and take care of me, right? And again, working through my safety issues that they were not related sometimes even, to the previous situation, but related to all trauma that I was bringing into my relationship. So that was kind of like the mission, right? And then alhamdulillah, then I found Islam, and also I got remarried. And when I have my boys, I have two boys, and they are 11 months apart, subhanallah. And I just seeing them, it was like the other part of my inspiration when I saw them, and I was like, I want them to grow up um to be in their masculine, right? Like to like, and also like how give them the space to do that, because I feel like there is something, and maybe some people might get triggered about this, but I'm going to say, but there is, I feel like overall, like because of the pain that the women have been carrying for generation, that it has been real, we went to the other extreme. Or is now we are sometimes living in a society where it's anti-men. So like all these qualities that come natural for them, like being like, like this leadership, or trying to take care of you, or like trying to be protective, or no, he's controlling, right? Like all of this thing that we took into the other extreme. So I was just reflecting on this, like I want my boys to be, inshallah, and I pray that they can fully embody their fitrah too. So like that was my other side, and that's when I started like kind of like again bringing more into this aspect of femininity into relationships, and how both like the femininity and masculine are supposed to be like an integration and complementary. So it's like two parts of the origin of this, but I feel like the intention is the same, because I grew up being very much out of my fitrah, and that's what I was empowered to do, right? Have a career, be independent, don't rely on anyone, all of this, right? And like just do and focus on your achievements and all of these things that I think like that's what a lot of times society now is telling us as a label for us as women to be successful, right? And it has been really unlearning all of this, because it was not serving me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm trying to help women to do the same, to really connect with their essence, right? It's like that Allah put in you. This is like something that I tell women, like when people tell me like, how am I going to start? I don't even know where to start. It's like one of the things that I tell them is like, you don't need to learn. You just need to remember, because it's already in you.
So it sounds to me that this transformation that has happened and these realizations have been governed by your internal compass, but as well as by your spiritual and religious teachings.
Yeah, it has been a combination of both. And I think for me, since even like since I was little, right? I think like this concept of like really wanted to do what Allah is asking me to be. Maybe at that point, I didn't call Allah, but I really this deep intention of purpose of just being, I guess, this principle of taqwa, right? Like Allah is happy with me, right? I has been a lot of, I think, my what has been guiding a lot of my journey.
Mm-hmm. So since you mentioned it earlier, why don't we begin with where you break it down, what would constitute as being like a healthy feminine energy and what would be a negative?
Okay, sounds good. So, okay, so the feminine is we can talk about the energy, or in this, or for the context of Islam, we can talk about the natural essence, right? And subhanallah, even without, if you start thinking about just seeing this from the physical makeup, even like just the hormones, like I was just fascinating because I was studying about this lately. Even if I don't bring the other aspects, it's like we are so different. And like our hormones is just shaped in the way that how we communicate. It's so different on how men interact with the world. And first and most, no one has explained that to us, right? No one tell us like men are different than women. And vice versa, right? For men, no one is like, we are talking to men as they are like as they are hairy women. And I think they are doing the same, right? Like to us, but there is no understanding that we need to approach each other different. So starting in that point, so this essence is like unique, and it was given to us, subhanallah. I 100% believe this is complementary. And at the same time, like when we talk more about the maybe the things that we don't see, they're not like measured by hormones or like science, but like behavioral things. So a lot of the things, for example, and I think this is a concept that a lot of people might have been taking as a misconception of femininity. For example, a feminine woman is like in balance, is someone that really knows also what she wants, right? She is really connected with her body, right? Um, and when she communicates those things, she just do it from a place where she can influence, but she doesn't have to manipulate. And a lot of times, so this is the opposite, right? Influence and manipulation. Influence, you are embodied, you know what you want, like you can express that. And I think this is something like that, again, we had not been taught how to do that, right? We feel like we have to be tough to make sure that things happen, right? That's what we have been told. Or the manipulation, right? So the manipulation is like, okay, how am I going to make this person do what I want, especially men? And a lot of times, just talking about in the maybe this doesn't happen much in the Muslim context, but I'm talking in general, like for example, like sexuality, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna just like, even if I use my body to just get what I want, right? So this is really out of balance. So right, this energy of manipulation, or for example, the other one about like being responsibility versus a victim mode, right? So like a responsibility, and I think allow Islam always calls us to us, right? Like take care of our actions. However, a lot of times, especially because we are more emotional, and this is a fact, we feel deeply, and I 100% I believe this is connecting with motherhood. Allah created in that way for a reason, and this is a gift, right? At the same time, our gifts can be also our challenge for us, right? Is that when you have a blessing and he's going to give you a blessing, and it can be a test at the same time, right? And we need to be very aware. So so that piece, right, where it is like okay, so it becomes victimhood, right? Like the opposite of self-responsibility. So like I don't take responsibility of this. Or like the example, for example, of a woman that is just giving and giving and giving, but it's giving from this place where it's like not just really giving out of love or nurturing, is like giving from a place of like over giving. So the opposite is like a martyr, right? And maybe we have heard like many of the moms or the elders in our, like the elder women in our that we have grow up around, saying is that I give all of this and no one blah blah blah. Or even sometimes we might find ourselves in that position too. So instead of women that has is balance, is like she knows when to give, right? And also like when it's not about just giving to others, right? Because it's like you cannot just give from an empty cup, right? Because then you become resentful, and then it's like like the things that are happening right now, like we are burnt out, and then we don't think about our needs, and then it's like all of these things, right? That so I think it's like it's subhanallah, when I think about this, I feel like Islam, and this is what, like our deen teaches, is to be in the middle way, right? But we have grown up, I feel like, and at least I can talk about my experience, like where the examples were the extreme, right? Is like maybe we grew up with someone that it was just constant giving, or like maybe just give everything for her kids, right? Like just, and she didn't take care of any of her needs. And then the message that it was passed to us is just go and be independent, just think of, like think about yourself and your future and all of this. But the path in the middle um, is dismissed. And there is what I feel is a lot of conflict, internal conflict, because there are qualities that come natural to us, but a lot of times you have me going into the streams.
So, Roja, what other characteristics would make a woman more as the balanced feminine
Okay.
woman?
A feminine woman is someone that is joyful, that is playful, that is radiant. Like this women, when sometimes maybe some people like a word that they use is magnetism, like this woman that they just have this presence, right? And this is my latest realization. A feminine woman is a woman that is, her nervous system is regulated. And this is a big one for all of us in this time and age. Because what are we facing right now is like a new epidemic. That's how I call it, right? Like with moving too fast, with screens, with, like all the stimulation, social media, it's very difficult for our nervous system to don't become dysregulated. And when like a woman is regulated in her nervous system, she brings peace around. Maybe you have come across like a woman that comes and you just feel like peace just to be around her. She doesn't have to speak, she doesn't have to say anything, but you just feel this groundedness, right? Versus, like me trying to communicate whatever from this place of anxiousness or not being emotional regulated, it comes out so different, right? Like and I think this is what I feel like people are, or women, sometimes we don't realize we have a presence. We can influence so much with our presence, with a way of being, not doing, right? Just by being in a state is like how we can influence. A woman is, again, is someone that embody compassion, right? And a lot of times we are not able even to embody that because we are so overwhelmed with whatever is going on in the world, right? So a feminine woman, again, I'm going back to this, is that she knows what she needs. So like she is kind of like fully responsible to make sure that she's also filling her cup, right? Instead of going to this depletion. And I think one of the things that I want to also mention in this point, because a lot of times, especially now, social media is like all about this thing about self-love and self, like you just take care of yourself and all of this, and how this can become so napsy, right? And I think this is a very, very beautiful concept in Islam that we have. And I think if we approach this in this way, it can make a big difference. And it's the intention, right? If I'm taking care of myself, if I'm taking a nap right now, yeah, Allah, I'm taking this because I want to be a good, I want to be grounded. I want to be peaceful. I want to be more tolerant with my kids. It's for your sake. I'm doing this because at the same time, in our essence, is to serve others. And this is the essence also of the women, like, it's like, this is sometimes how we demonstrate love. So like just rooting this self-care in that intention, not like, oh, I'm gonna just do this for myself and forget the rest of the world, because this is sometimes like what is now being like a lot of people is saying, you just do you and you forget about the rest, and it's all about you and your happiness. No, we know that we have the concept of the nafs, and this is that, I think, again, going back to this middle path, right, is how you just can make sure that you are not just doing this for your sake. And I think this is at the end how I see this, like all of these characteristics that I listed before, is at the end of the day can be something that is an act of worship. Allah, I'm doing this because this is what you are expecting from me, right? Like having this concept of I embody this quality because this is what you're asking from me, right? So I hope this makes sense.
So, what if there's a woman out there who is listening to this and she's thinking, man, I was raised in such a cold and hard environment. I'm
Mm,
not really like a nurturing, compassionate type of a woman. What am I supposed to do? Like, how is she?
mm,
What did you tell? Like, where does she start in terms of cultivating those things which for some women are just really intuitive? Like, some people just have it intuitively.
mm. The first step is I become aware, and alhamdulillah, she's listening to this and she's like, oh, shoot, I didn't grow up like this. Alhamdulillah, that's a big first step, right? Because there's many women that they don't even realize about this, right? I would say the first thing when in terms of women start embody this, start like engaging with her body. So again, there are like maybe this person is someone that tends to avoid feelings, or like this is someone that is like, okay, I'm not really allowing myself to feel sadness, whatever other emotions. So like to just really in the concept of somatic, we don't call emotions, we call sensations, right? So like like a simple examples, like for example, there's an exercise when you just shake your body for a little bit and then you just like pause and then you just start feeling the sensations, right? So start becoming aware with your emotions, right, and your inner world, right? And I don't say like this is something that is like um something that happened overnight, but like like, and again, with that awareness, make dua. Yeah, Allah help me and send me the people and the environment and the community of women that can support me on this. That's the first step. Second step, you can, like, for example, if you realize, and probably she has some trauma, right? Um, like find someone that can help you and guide you in that process, right? Because like we need that support, right? Like there is no shame on that. Other principles, for example, is start noticing like what are the things that when she just probably this person is someone that is much focused on achievements and how her self-worth is based on achievements, right? Like accomplishing this or accomplishing that. Start challenging those things, like, do I really need this? Like, do I, like, is this really um giving this sense of self-worth that I'm, because we are looking for that, women want attention, women want to feel love, and a lot of time that's like a mechanism on how our nerves feel that, right? So I would say start, for example, like tracking your menstrual cycle. Allah made us cyclical beings. Our energy, the type of activities, all is just different during the month. So one of the challenge I feel like a lot of women experience, like, I cannot be consistent, is that you are not meant to be consistent. You are not meant to be consistent, right? So start practicing that also, like that mercy for yourself. It's like instead of being harsh on myself, right? um, and start like see if we can find a community, a group that are really like helping you to remember about these things, because we need this all these reminders, right? And again, nervous system regulation, big one, as I always say to anyone.
Can we talk more about that? What would be your major tips on how to self-regulate?
So I think one of the practice that I have found, and again, I even recently made a post about this. This is not a luxury anymore, or is not something nice to do. I just honestly feel that this is a must. You just need to do it every day, because this is like you are becoming proactive of all the this regulation that is happening every day, right? So a very simple practice is called the diaphragmatic breathing. You can do that in the morning at least 10 minutes. So like normally what I do is after I wake up for Fajr, like I pray, I do my dhikr or whatever, and I just lay down in my bed, or you can be sitting. You can place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and just you breathe in and imagine your belly is filling up with air, and then your chest is like growing as you inhale, and exhale even more slowly. And you can do that exhale through the mouth. And you can actually do Allah as you inhale mentally, and Who as you exhale. And literally with that, with the intention of just releasing and, like helping your nervous system to just amplify the the stress that can handle during the day. So that's one practice. So like if you go to science, diaphragmatic breathing is something that actually used with people with PTSD to just help the nervous system to go back into this regulated state. If this is too complicated, I would just say count to 4 as you inhale and exhale in 5, 6, or 7 seconds. Just make sure your exhalation is longer. So start with that, for example. And again, this is not a luxury. I think this is something that we really need to do. Something else that you can do is, if you think about your day and you find like there are certain moments that that are stressful, that you are in this go, go, go. And I'm gonna give you an example. When my kids were little, it was just trying to get out of the house and putting them in the car. It was just like this crazy just happening, right? And literally my husband will put them in the car and I will just stay outside of the car and take 5 deep breaths, because I know before that my body was just like in this kind of like go, go, go mode, and it just holding like this stress response. And then with these 5 breaths, I will just tell my body and tell, you are safe, you are okay, because the body, like the nervous system doesn't really understand what is real, what is a real threat. It doesn't really understand that. Like it might perceive something that is something as a threat, and it is maybe is not real, right? But is the like maybe our how we are understanding this. So like just having that regulation. So I would say in the morning, find something during the day maybe that you feel like already is stressful, and just trying to again like hijack your like nervous system, right? And if you can do it at night too, but just becoming
What you said is so important about like really tuning into body awareness, because when we're on the go, 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 you're so disconnected from, oh my gosh, my shoulders are really tense, my breath is shallow, my chest is tight. But when you really like take a moment just to pause and to think, oh my gosh, see how I'm feeling. And then, as you said, the breathing, and to say internally or aloud, I am
yeah.
safe. I am safe.
Mhm.
Everything is okay. I am okay. Everything is okay. That immediately just brings everything down, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the women, the main component for a woman to be in her feminine and to be able to blossom in their femininity is to feel safe in her body. And again, that's what I feel like there is this we need to kind of like be honest with ourselves, especially if we are in a marriage. And again, like marriage always gonna bring things up to you, right? um but a lot of times, for example, I can talk about myself. I was like, oh, I'm not feeling safe. And even I remember my husband who used to challenge me, like, are you serious? And I will just go to like, I will just like, okay, take a moment. And I just realized this is nothing to do with this situation. It's something from the past, right? So like working on these pieces, right? Again, it doesn't mean that what I'm feeling is not real, but it also understanding that this is not related to this present moment, but might be something that has to do with a previous experience, and just being able to sit with it and with the bread and just say, okay, I'm safe. Allah is with me. Allah is my protector. Yeah, Allah is He's Al Muhaymin, like He's protecting, He's watching over me. Like really. And that's why you also use the divine names too, like to just bring, it's like a medicine, right? So yeah.
I find humming is very helpful, and humming stimulates this vagus nerve, humming or
Mhm.
singing. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's almost has like a dual benefit, because it almost shifts the energy, and it's kind of there's an element of fun in that, or playfulness, but at the same time, it's on a physiological level, it's affecting the system.
Yep.
Yeah. Roger, you mentioned that the feminine woman, she's playful and joyful. So again, for somebody who had a very tough upbringing, and maybe she was raised in a household where there was actually no tolerance for play and joyfulness,
Yeah.
coming from an sort of quite a maybe negative or unhappy background. And so she might find it hard to
Mm.
engender these kind of traits in her own life. What would you say to her?
Well, I would just say start trying. Don't like trying like new things, right? Creativity might be something, like that it can start like sparking these things, like something that something that you enjoy. And sometimes even we visualize joy, like, oh my God, I have to be so excited, right? Like this concept. I feel like actually joy is really being like even like finding that moment of like fulfillment, just doing something, right? So I would just say start exploring something with creativity. Start, maybe it would be too much for her like to going into like a dancing class, but just try it, like this is, and again, for each person, finding that joy might be in different things. Maybe but might be poetry, like using like that those experiences to just something like a way of expression. And I feel the essence of joy brings you that freedom. Is to just feel like kind of like this essence of this sense of freedom of like lightness, right? Like something that help you to just really connect with you with your body, like, and with no rigidity on how it's supposed to looks like.
Many women, when they see titles or topics of articles or videos that talk about being a feminine woman, there's some kind of trigger there because they almost see it as being like an attack from the other side, you know? Oh, so you think I'm not a feminine woman? What does femininity mean? So, how do we talk about femininity without the responsibility lying solely on the shoulders of women?
First question is that I will challenge that person that are having these thoughts to really reframe or the understanding of femininity. Because again, we are talking here about, we talk about the feminine and the balance and the no balance, right? And just really understanding that maybe her understanding on a feminine woman comes from those traits that they were not in balance. Second thing is, when we talk about femininity, you can think about fitrah, right? So Allah created men and women with different traits to complement each other. It's not one is better than the other. Allah created us with an essence and is not imperfect. It's not that the essence of man is better than our essence, right? So that's one point. So it's like a lot about reframing about that concept, because I think we need to be aware that one of the challenges in the society where we are living and is we are living in a world that is driven by capitalism, productivity, and the worth of someone is based on external things and is on achieving and all of like how much money are you making, how many titles are you having, and blah blah blah. This is not connected to what Allah tell us, like about or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, many hadiths, right, like about like the worth of a woman. It's not in that. So a lot of what I have found is like a lot of these women, when they feel like this is like feminine women is like, it's like a almost like they repel that idea, is because somehow there is a piece of it like they want to be like men. And I'm
I
going to
don't know if
explain.
I don't know if it really is that. I think it might be a pushback to certain, not all, but certain men's perception of what femininity is. Like I've met men who literally just want somebody who is beautiful, nurturing, and docile. Like they want somebody who's docile,
Mhm.
and that is what most women have an
Oh,
allergy
okay.
to. Yeah. It's like, don't tell me to be docile, don't tell me what to do, especially the ones who have like a naturally feisty nature. They tend to be the ones who are more opinionated, strong personality, that type of woman. So that's the pushback. But I think that what you're saying in terms of true femininity, I think that most women would embrace that gladly, but the pushback is the certain male imposition about what femininity, the definition of what that is, you know?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I understand your point, and I think, believe me, I was one of the rebels. I was one of them. And I can talk about my experience and what I have found about myself, and maybe it will resonate with other people too. When it comes to marriage, I struggle with this, and I think this was one of the challenges in my previous marriage, because I was like fighting and defend, like I was constant fighting, basically, right? Like, don't tell me what to do and all of these things, right? What I had found about myself, it was a lot to do um, with my inner experience from my childhood. And again, I'm not saying that they are not bad men, because they are, right? But that I create a story and a reality in my head that all men were the same. So, and alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah, right? My husband, I feel like it really helped me a lot into undo all of these beliefs. And at the same time, it took a lot of humility in myself to listen to him, right? Because, and I give you the example that I said, like before, is like, oh, I'm not feeling sad. And he was like, are you serious? Right? Like, and then I will talk about it. And I was like, I guess you're right. Like, again, this is no, he's not pressuring me something, but it was a lot of my trauma, right? That it was creating that, oh my God, I have to defend myself. I have to say this, right? Like, don't tell me what to do, or he's trying to control me, all of that. How can I say this? Because I think it's going to be triggering anyway. When we talk about accepting that we are more emotional, there is something, our emotions are tied with our nerves. And when the nerves, we know this is true for anyone, especially strong emotions, our shaitan can like put fire into that. And women, by the fact, this is fact, women, we experience more negative thoughts than men, because we have like that's where we are like, I'm not worthy of this, all of this conversation that we have, right? This is a reality. Men don't, in their brains, they are not shaped this way. So that's a fact, right? So when I'm aware that, okay, I'm more emotional, and I'm not saying this with no shaming, it's like, oh, she's emotional, right? I'm not saying this with that connotation. I'm just saying accepting this as a reality, right? And maybe I'm also close to getting my cycle. I'm becoming more sensitive, because in that case, for the I forget the hormones, but I tend to become more hyper vigilant. This is real, this is fact, this is science, right? And then I have a reaction to something, and I kind of like overreact to this, because maybe this happened in another part of my cycle, it wouldn't be the same. Having the ability, and having someone that you trust as a partner, that he say, hey, like, you are overreacting, that I am able to take this in. Or I say, like, and this is something, for example, I tell my husband, like, when, hey, and again, going back to this concept of like being responsible, right? There are times when I say, you know what, I'm sorry, I did overreact. I know it doesn't mean that what my experience was not real, but in the way that I took it, it was out of proportion, right? Just facts. So I think in like a lot of times, again for myself, like allowing and being in a relationship where you find that polarity and I think that maybe this is, we're leading into another question, where the feminine and the masculine is balance. It doesn't mean that you don't say what you have to say, right? You can express those things at the same time. And again, the naps are not going to be happy here. Is we understand that Allah put certain responsibilities for men and women. And one of the responsibilities, and this is something that I say to people when people think about leadership, in the Kawam, the man's supposed to be the leader of the home, not because he's better, in front of the eyes of Allah. It's because imagine that you are working in a company and that your manager is very emotional. And sometimes out of emotions, take decisions that are not very wise, right? Versus someone that is like, okay, and I'm not saying here is a man or a woman, right? Versus someone that, again, can be more rational and can see things in a different perspective. So you can still mention, whatever you have to say, and you have, but I think where there is a struggle, and maybe a lot of people don't agree with it, and it's fine, is really allowing that my husband, and trusting him that he's a good leader. And leadership also comes with responsibilities. That means if he makes a bad decision, he's going to have to deal with the consequences. Because what I have found is a lot of sometimes women, we want to make the last decision, but then when the consequences come, we don't want to deal with the consequences. So I just really feel like having that understanding. And again, for me, it's like I tell my husband a lot of times, like I don't agree with this. Alhamdulillah, like he's someone that listened to me, and even he asked for me for my opinion. But when he makes a decision, is like I trust him, and what I do is like I make dua constantly for him. Ya Allah, guide him, give him wisdom, to just make the right decisions for us. Like I just like he is like the Amir, like you put him in that role, and he's gonna be accountable for that. Women, we wouldn't be accountable for that. So I think this is, again, and there is cases also where it's again against my nerves, my own struggle, right? It's like I don't agree with this, and he say, okay, we're gonna do this. I don't know, like we are going out, and I don't want to go out, for example, because whatever reasons. And it's like, okay, Allah, literally setting that intention is that Allah, I'm submitted to you. Ya Allah, ya Wakil, I'm gonna do this because like you put him in a rank, and I trust that why in your reasoning you make him, you put him in that position. And again, it's just reframing of submitting. I'm submitting to Allah, right? A lot of times the funny thing is like for example, if I don't want to go out and I give him all of my reasons or whatever. This was like a case when my kids were little with the nap, right? And he was like, everything will be fine, just trust me, like, and I would be in front of me, inside of me, I would be freaking out, right? And a lot of times when I was like, okay, Bismillah, I'm submitted to you, Allah, everything went right. It was right. So, but it's like, again, like, is this reframing sometimes? And I think that the key component about this is like when you are talking about in marriage specifically, when you are looking for someone to get married, just think about like, do I trust and also respect this person as being a wise person, like that is gonna kind of like taking this role, right? So yeah, so that's what I would say into that. It doesn't mean that you don't have to say anything. You can definitely can say things, right? Like you can express your needs. And the most fun, like most interesting thing is like when we drop into this gentleness and this playfulness, and even we use, for example, like physical touch, like when you come and, for example, to your husband and say something like, hey, my love, I was thinking about this, and you just use this influence that you have that is in the tone of your voice. I give you that for a reason, right? And then you also like acknowledge the effort that he does. He respond to you like very like, I mean, because he wanna make you happy in his fitrah. He wants to provide for you. And when I'm talking about provision, I'm not talking about just financially. In a man's heart, and I can see this with my boys, they wanna make me happy. They wanna protect me. Mama, like, don't do this because you're gonna cut yourself. Be careful with this knife. He's like 3.5. He's still in his fitrah, and it's in that, like, so like I think we can help them to just like be like, can I cultivate that state, you know what I mean? It's not our responsibility because the men has to do their work on whatever triggers and whatever they have, but as women we can foster that environment, if that makes sense.
Roja, a big topic is polarity. So, from what I've learned on this topic, the more feminine a woman is, the more masculine the man becomes. That's kind of the presumption. But what if that's not always the case? And similarly, the more masculine a woman is, it almost emasculates the man. Then he doesn't like man up and act like a man. So I'm really interested in this topic of polarity. Like,
Okay.
what should a woman do if, say, for example, she just doesn't perceive her husband as being very manly or is quite boyish, or maybe she has a lot more life experience than he does. Maybe she has traveled more extensively. And so she kind of like assumes a more masculine role. And that can be very destructive because I know that also affects then the sexual attraction between the couple. It affects many things.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, if you think about someone and that is generous, right? And you are constantly giving, like telling that person, oh no, I'm fine, no, I don't need you. He want, like, let's say it's a woman, right? She wants to help you, and you're, or like, let's say you are that person, right? And you are kind of like constantly like saying, oh, like what you are doing is not good enough, or like you are constantly like diminishing and like don't allowing that. There is a point where you just even feel like kind of like unmotivated by it, right? So let's go back to men. They're very generous, and this is actually something that if you want to enhance a behavior in a man, for example, you want your husband to take you out for dinner, or like take care of, yeah, when he does that behavior, let them know, let him know, I love when you do this, it makes me feel, and express how make you feel, right? Like you are trying to enhance that. So a man that is that feel acknowledged and respected, and again, for a women, we want to feel that we are being that we are attracted there, like like there, we like attention, right? Women, we like attention. If we don't feel like our man is giving us attention, is like is really bad for us, right? We feel really bad, right? Like, and then we're trying to get attention in another ways, right? Maybe nagging or whatever, but any attention is good. Good or bad attention is attention anyway, right? So I mean, he feels that he needs to be is respected. He needs to feel like, and one way, and I'm gonna go into this. Respect means that that you value his thoughts, that you value what he has to say. So if you are asking your husband for something or for an advice, make sure you take some of it. Otherwise, don't ask, right? Because, and again, going back to the fitrah, a man who is, he wants to provide when he feels that he is needed, when he feels that what he's providing is valued. Another fact in the women's brain, because we are scanning always for danger, this is the reality. This is science. We tend to look to what is not working. So a lot of times when we express these things to our husband, oh, you didn't do this, or you didn't do, or why did you do this, right? So in their brain is like, okay, what I'm doing is not enough. And I think a lot of women have heard this, right? So if you express to him what is he doing well, because remember, he in his role is like, I need to provide for my family. And again, I'm not just talking about financial, it can be emotional stability, it can be support in other ways. And when he hears this, oh, thank you for doing this, you are such a caring person, thank you for always thinking about us, like all of these things, he takes that as a reflection of himself. He's doing a good job, right? So when a man he's doing a good job, he feels empowered, so he feels confident, right? So we go to the other stream. Sometimes when a man is not able to step up, or like then don't step up, what we do as women is like, we do it, okay, I'm just gonna do it. But this create a healthy dynamic, because the man is like, okay, I don't have to do it because she's gonna take care of it. This is gonna probably make the women more masculine, because there are things that she just feels like she needs to carry, and like other things in her to-do list, more mental load. But when we constantly are doing this, we are kind of like allowing this dynamic. So one thing, for example, that is very start kind of like letting him start taking responsibility of certain things. And this is not like from going from black and white to just, okay, I'm just gonna let him maybe, because maybe he's someone that is now learning on how to step into his masculine, because maybe he was raised in a household that he was just basically, even for the dynamic that he saw, maybe he become a people pleaser, right? Or maybe they were not giving him enough responsibility. So it's like, okay, so as a woman right now, is like, okay, I'm gonna give you the responsibility on this, right? Like this is like, for example, and in my case, what I can do is, and it's hard because we want things in certain way, and we might wanna he did the dishes or whatever, is like, this is not how I want it, and then we tend to say that, just focus and start like appreciating what is he's doing, even if he's not doing perfectly, right, according to our standards, and encourage more of this, right? And for example, if you want your husband to be more decisive and make decisions, and again, when he make a decision, say, I love when you are when you make decisions. It just made me feel that it's something, like on, or I love how you handle the situation with the kids, right? Because it just made me feel like you have my back, and just let him know. But I think as women is like we need to kind of like express that they are really motivated by like hearing and actually seeing the state of the wife. If the wife is happy, they feel like, oh my God, I'm doing such a good job. Right?
Yes,
Like
I think
because
I heard Dr. John Gray, who wrote the Mars Venus book, he said that when the wife is happy, the husband takes credit for it, even though it might necessarily be because of him, but he takes the credit for it. So I think that what he was trying to get at is that it's so important for women to engender a sense of like cheerfulness and happiness.
yeah, and because again, it's like they're thinking it's like, okay, this is my role, I need to provide. Oh, I see it, right? It's like, oh, okay, I'm doing a good job, right? They take this personally. Again, if they see the opposite, the women complaining all the time, right? I don't like this, you didn't do a good job with this or whatever. It's like, oh my God, maybe I'm just like, I'm not, I'm not a good, I don't know, leader, right? So like they start like second guessing themselves too. So one of the things, just say, just start, let him take initiative and praise those things. And when you see something that you like about him, just let him know. Let him know how that make you feel. Because again, in their hearts, they want to make you happy, right? If you say like, this make me feel so relaxed, and even when you ask for something, like, oh, I would like to go to bed early, I'm just so tired, again, and you're not putting even any expectation, like, a lot of times, and I have seen this, it's like, okay, like, let me take care of the dishes or whatever, like even in other people, like, because um they 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 really want in their fitrah the best, for the other person, right? They want a gift. That's what, subhanallah, when I learned this is not a Muslim person. And when she was saying that, I was like, subhanallah, Allah said that in the Quran, like they're the kawan, they are providers. And I was just thinking about this, is like, it's there, Allah said it very clear. Sometimes we just focus on the financial aspect, but I think that's very important. And especially going back to polarity, as you say, when it kills intimacy, is, if you make sure that you don't become the mom. And when we are mothering our husbands, how this looks like is like, there is certain arrogance, right? When you think about it, it's like, no, you don't do this way. You do it this way. I know how to do it. You don't know how to do it, right? They feel that men are very sensitive to this slightly changes, right? And another one is like when you, for example, do things out of resentment. Let's say, for example, you start like picking up the mugs that they were upstairs, and you are resentful because you didn't out of love, you did it out of resentment, or because you didn't want to look your room a mess, right? So like kind of like making sure, because otherwise we go into this nagging. And when we go into this nagging, what happened for them is actually in their brain, a man is not wired to like conflict, like they disconnect. And it's the same thing that happened with kids, right? When we are talking too much, they don't really hear us. They just see a bunch of noise and facial expressions, right, that they're happening, but they're not getting anything. And in their head, they might be like, oh my God, she's so emotional. Maybe that's what they are thinking inside, right? So again, so it's kind of like important that when we sometimes less words are less, right? And again, this might look different in each relationship, but kind of like becoming the cheerleader, I would say, and allow him to start like taking a step into this role or responsibility. And if he's making a decision, he made a decision and maybe didn't go well, don't just say, I told you, right? Don't do that, please. Because you want to start helping him to become confident, right? Your man needs to feel confident to be in his masculine. Imagine like if we are thinking about going to war. Imagine like this men that go into war, they're not confident, like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm gonna be right. This would be a mess, right? You want your men to feel like, okay, he got this, like you are, like he's empowered, like so he can protect you. He can take care of your family. So make sure that we as women, we are the like we are actually help, like reminding them that we believe in them, like you can do this, you are very smart, all of these things.
I really think that there should be workshops aimed at women, run by women, on how to be more feminine. And there should be workshops run by men for men on how to be more masculine because it's such a problem. Like so many men are overly obliging, compliant, they over apologetic, they ask their wives for permission. And so they are also kind of perpetuating this mom son type of a relationship
Yes, I
rather than
understand.
manning up. And I actually know somebody who did actually go on a guy workshop or something. And it was like a total transition. Like he stopped asking for permission. Like instead of saying, hey, I can I go spend the weekend with my friends?
Yeah.
Then it changed to, oh, I just want to let you know that, in the last weekend of this month, I'll be traveling with my friends for the weekend. And it was a total shift, and she felt it. She felt it. She could see that change. And even though she might not like it, she certainly respected him more, you know?
Yeah.
So, and these are things that like we don't know because no, we don't, marriage doesn't come with like a manual on how to do. So especially if, say, for example, he had a very bossy mom and he was
Hmm.
used to being like, like a helicopter mom and who
Hmm.
was just very controlling and maybe the mom was kind of overbearing over the dad,
Hmm.
then that's kind of like the default, and
Yeah.
that can also affect then the bedroom, where she's literally
Absolutely.
telling him what, and he's just like this, like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think it's like such a problem because there are marriages falling apart everywhere
Hmm.
because men complain their wives are too bossy, and the
Uh-huh.
women complain while the men are too like they need to man up.
Hmm.
So yeah.
No, absolutely. And actually, my husband actually, for those who are like close to Virginia, or like he's doing actually a workshop like every 3 months, more or less, where he talks about all of this. It's like you cannot just be a people pleaser because your woman is that you're gonna lose respect. And like in a sense, you need to be, and again, he's talking about how to be a grounded leader. Like it's like, and he talks about like this concept of emotion. You cannot just be emotional around your wife. I mean, you find your people to go and look if you're falling apart because something is happening. You just go and find your people to go and say, okay, I need some, support and whatever. Because of course they have emotions and all of this, but you're supposed to be the one that is grounding your family, right? And again, is how you can make your woman feel like desire and attractive, and all of these things. So he has actually, he's doing that, and I believe, I mean, 100%, I believe in what are you saying. It's like we don't know that we are a different, and somehow also sometimes as women, right? Because right now is a lot of these empowered women. You go and you're like the boss lady, and all of this. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to a relationship. She's like, okay, that's how I'm supposed to do, and this is going to kill the polarity.
hmm I'll link your husband's workshop in the details. But Rajad, I think this is why women like to watch these Turkish series because the men are so stoic and chivalrous and leaders and they take no nonsense. And when you just
Sorry
watch
to,
those, it's this like a death of masculinity and then
yeah,
also femininity. I mean, it's two-way thing. Like those are also very feminine women that we see.
and that's what we find attractive. Let's be honest. Like, like let's say when you were like in courtship, right? If you found like this guy was like a yes man, you just like don't like him. You just like lose respect for this guy. It's like, oh, whatever, like we don't like this.
hmm
Like in a woman, we because we want, when we are looking for a partner, again, going back to like, a woman needs to feel safe, and a woman in her brain is always scanning for danger. She wants, what she's looking for is someone that she feels that he can protect her if something happens. So like he's gonna be like, right, like even like maybe a little big or whatever, like this is how we are wired.
It's also off-putting when the men, if a man is courting a woman, like when he's just too interested in her, where she becomes like, the absolute object
Mhm.
of everything for him. And, he will cultivate more respect from her if he actually has his own thing going on. He's interested in other things beyond her.
Because
He's
we
not
want,
always there like a puppy
yeah.
dog all the time.
And again, going back to we want attention, right? It's like, okay, just make us kind of like think about, okay, how I can get his attention, right? Like kind of like it's like this
A healthy tension. There needs
yeah,
to be
yeah,
a
yeah. It's
healthy
kind of like this
tension.
dynamic, right? Yeah.
Is anything else you'd like to add in closing? Something that you felt you wanted to say today that we did not mention?
Subhanallah. Recently, I was taking a class in motherhood, and the teacher said, like, this is a rank Allah gave you, and this is not for anyone. And the hadith that is always that paradise is under the feet of the mother is just a sign on how much Allah see all these efforts that society cannot measure, that we cannot measure at the same standards of society, because maybe there are no titles, maybe there is no income, maybe there is not whatever, we like external outcome. But in front of Allah, what you are doing by serving your family, by what you are doing, all of these things is really heavy on your scale. And for us to be surrounded with women that help us to remind us about these things, it's really important, that community. Because it's like almost, I feel like almost become like you have to have this in like this small group of people that are reminding you, you don't have to achieve all of these things to be worth it. And if this is what we are struggling with, is like, okay, let me do some work on this, right? But I feel like as for us as Muslim, is not really um really keep the eyes in the afterlife, and just whatever Allah is giving you in this moment is a gift. And he put you in a woman and a female body, and there's a gift, and there is a gift. And the only any creation in this dunya come through a female body. So just think about this. This is not something small. And if Allah give you that amana, it's because He knows maybe something that we don't know yet, but it's not for us to question.
Thank you. Thank you, Raja, for your time and interesting discussion. I wish you and your family all the best.
Thank you so much.